Good morning, everyone. I'm Angelo Comsi, and I hope all of you are safe, healthy, vaccinated, and dry. Welcome to In a Nutshell, where we talk about something a lot juicier than food. This is the joint initiative of the Asian Culinary Exchange and the Asia Society Philippines. Before we start with our discussion, let me first call on Joy Alampay, the Executive Director of the Asia Society Philippine Foundation, Inc., for opening remarks.
Thank you, Angelo. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone, wherever you are. Thank you so much for joining this special episode of In a Nutshell in partnership with the Asian Culinary Exchange, the Philippine Daily Inquirer, and Inquirer Lifestyle. So, the Asia Society Philippine Center is so pleased to welcome distinguished and key figures in the food and beverage, trade, food tourism, and public relations industries to bring to light via a delicious discussion to, shall we say, a very hot and meaty topic. Our appreciation most specially to our Secretary of Tourism, Ma'am Berna Romulo Puyat. Maraming salamat po for your time this morning. So the question of how best to promote and gift the world with Filipino food has once again unleashed a lot of passion on so many sides and so many approaches. Debates, yes. But clearly, we are all united in wanting to represent and advocate Philippine cuisine. So, in 2008, Asia Society Philippines first published Culinaria, a guidebook to Philippine cuisine, dedicated to that very mission. Celebrated chefs who are here with us today, Ms. Gaita Flores and Mr. Cloud Tayag, were co-authors of Culinaria. Thank you, Paul, for that and for all your continuing contributions. We're also honored to have as panelists noted restaurateur and chef, Mr. Robbie Gocco, US-based Phil-Am chef, Ms. Yana Hilbuena, and award-winning brand strategist, Ms. Amor Maclang. So as proud as we are of Culinaria as our humble contribution to our heritage, we knew then that we are reminded of now. Our food is the best, even as we may never agree on who or what makes the best adobo, right? But this we also learned with Culinaria. While there will never be one answer to those questions, we do appreciate and enjoy the attempts at answers. And that is why we are excited and grateful for our discussion today, hosted by Angelo. So when it comes to that which nourished us, raised us, comforted us, and kept us together, and always longing for home, when it comes to what is best, the best way to present it, it may never really be an ending conversation. But all that too merely makes us all the more Pinoy, right? So allow me to just welcome everyone to the table and thank you all for this family gathering. Today, we all partake of knowledge and insights so we can all take part in a common mission. Over to you, Angelo.
Thanks, Joy, and thanks to the Asia Society Philippines for continuing to organize and engage in conversations that matter. This one included. On July 9, the Department of Trade and Industry said in a press statement that it has formed a technical committee aimed at developing national standards for Filipino dishes. The Bureau of Philippine Standards, which is under DTI, established the BPS/TC92 that will determine baseline recipes for popular Filipino dishes, taking into consideration the regional variations in cooking procedures. As reiterated, these are not mandatory and would only define what we shall promote internationally. They will serve as the common denominators among all the known ways of cooking the dishes, to help preserve the country's cultural identity despite the variations made to it. According to BPS Director Neil Katahay, standardizing the basic cooking techniques for Philippine adobo will help ordinary citizens, foodies, and food businesses determine and maintain the authentic Filipino adobo taste. As soon as they announced this, so many people voiced their opinions with regard to the controversial matter. In an instant, the local food world got divided, with many telling the Trade Department to embrace cultural differences rather than siding with one. Today, we dissect the issue further and continue the conversation by hearing from respected individuals in relevant fields. With this, we hope to study and understand the matter deeper by including different points of view. and to engage and cultivate a healthy discussion that will hopefully proceed to a move that will have everyone advocating in unison. Forming the panel, first and foremost, is the Department of Tourism Secretary who has been very active in promoting food and local produce even back when she was still an undersecretary in the Department of Agriculture. Her thoughts on food tourism will greatly add value to this communication. Let's all welcome Secretary Berna Romulo Puyat.
Hi, good morning, Angelo,
Hello.
and good morning to
Good morning.
this distinguished panel, old friends. I'm so happy to be here.
Next is an award-winning brand architect, reputation strategist, movement maker, and marketing and communications innovator. She has worked with foreign and local governments such as the Singapore Tourism Board, Iloilo, and the Mindanao region, to name a few. Currently, she sits as the executive director for the FinTech Philippines Association and a co-founder of Geyser Maclang Communications, Inc. Good morning, Amor Maclang.
They forgot the most important thing, which is a foodie, right? Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Secretary Berna, magandang umaga po.
She is followed by Asia's best female chef and one of the country's most revered culinarian. As an effective ambassador for Filipino cuisine abroad, she has championed her love for her food in international stages, including Madrid Fusion in Spain, Food on the Edge in Ireland, and the Harvard University in the US. Let's give a warm welcome to the United Nations World Tourism Organization Ambassador for Gastronomy Tourism, Margarita Flores.
Magandang umaga po. Thank you, Angelo, for that wonderful introduction. And Secretary Berna and Amor and the rest of the panel, good morning. Maraming salamat for allowing us to be with such kindred spirits today.
Our next panelist is a Filipino artist, handy chef, food writer, TV host, and newspaper columnist. He's also a book author, having penned Food Tour, a collection of essays, drawings, and recipes, a culinary travel guidebook called Dinamnam, Eating One's Way Around the Philippines, and a co-author and food stylist of Culinaria, a guidebook to Filipino cuisine. He's also the man responsible for introducing the late, great Anthony Bourdain to sisig. Let's all welcome Claude Tayag.
Hi, hello! Maya paabak kayo nga. Mabasa. Medyo mumuram kayo ni. I'm wishing everybody good morning and a heartfelt thank you for inviting me to join this webinar.
Then we have a chef who has over 20 years of industry experience under his belt. His restaurants such as Sima Greek Laverna, Green Pastures, and Suv are some of the most well-loved in the country. He is also one of the chefs who helped popularize the concept of farm to table by championing what is sustainable and local. He joins us today as the Vice Chair of DTI's Bureau of Product Standards. Say hello to Chef Robbie Goko.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for inviting me here. And it's nice to be here. And good morning, fellow foodies.
Finally, completing the roster is a chef who had an extensive food tour promoting Filipino cuisine via pop-up dinners all over the US, Canada, Mexico, Europe, Australia, and Colombia. Her Salo project is an initiative that started while she was in the process of self-discovery. She documents her experiences and recipes in a cookbook called No Forks Given. Her insights as a chef introducing Filipino cuisine abroad will definitely hold value in our discussion. Joining us from New Jersey is Yana Helbuena.
Maayong aga, maayong gabi. Good morning, magandang umaga. Salamat, Angelo, and everyone for holding this discussion. And it's so great to be here.
Welcome, everybody, and thank you for taking interest in this dialogue. Okay, so let's hit the nail straight on the head and address the issue that rocked the food industry. Maybe it's best if we find out first how this whole move started. So I'd like to start with Chef Rob. Maybe you can tell us how this thing of doing baseline recipes for Filipino dishes came about. Who thought of it? How was the team formed? And why is there a need for it?
Okay. Great. Now, first, I sit kasi in the board of the HRAP, the Hotel and Restaurant Association of the Philippines. And then our president, Eugene Yap, told me that DTI, the Bureau of Standards, was asking him to send a representative because they were planning to standardize nga the adobo. And just from that time, when Eugene, our president Eugene told me, I go, you can't standardize it. There's a lot of recipes, diba? But sabi niya, no, just go and attend and represent HRAP. I go, okay, sige. And everything was done through Zoom, so through Zoom. So so when I logged in, there were people from the Philippine Chamber of Food Manufacturers. There were from the Academe, the UP College of Home Economics, right? And then the Department of Science and Technology. Letok Blanche was there. The meat processors were there, and they asked me, parang who should also be there, right? And I remember, si Tita Glenda was, I told them that maybe you should invite the people who really know this topic more. I mean, they've already done culinaria, so they did their research, and then on the next meeting, Mrs. Barreto was there, Mirna Sigismundo was there, Mickey Phoenix was also part of the panel, right? So we started it, and we met 5 times, right? And only on the 5th session that after tackling everything, after talking about the adobo, that's the only time they asked, okay, can we elect a chairman and a vice chairman? And then, of course, Tita Glenda was the one who was voted as the chairman, right? And then they go, Robbie, since I was supposed to be only a observer, participant. Then again, it became a lively discussion that they said, oh, sige, you know what, Rob, since you're why don't you become vice chairman? And I go, sige, fine. But only after the 5th session. But even if you invite, during the discussion, diba? People were they were saying, parang let's make the culinaria, the book, right, a basis for this research, for what we're doing, right? And during the discussion, we knew that the adobo, we were going to give out the basic recipe, diba? We're not gonna touch each and everyone's adobo. We're not gonna, we're just gonna come out with the most basic, which is actually, I can give you right now. It's the protein, the vinegar, and local endemic vinegar, garlic, salt, and pepper. Now, whatever you add to that will be bahala ka na. It's really just to let the whole world know what's the difference between adobo and paksiw or humbak or asado, right? So at least we know that, and also Chef Mirna was saying, we also have to promote our local vinegar, which is the most important. Sabi niya, so at least when they make adobo abroad, the chefs would always look for Philippine vinegar, not only like using balsamic or sherry or apple cider vinegar. They should use local vinegar, and then bahala na kayo. As long as we have the basic 5 ingredients, and no, it was, we met 5 times, and after the 5th session, when we came out with the basics, right? And we were supposed to meet in person, and we were supposed to cook the most basic adobo, right? And then to bring a adobo that you're used to, or that your style of adobo. Yun lang. That's about it. That's how simple it is. Angelo, yeah.
I think he's frozen.
Yeah, okay. And after that it stopped nga, kasi nga when the article came out by the Inquirer, in fact, we didn't want that message to be sent out, we were very careful that it has to it since okay, I know it's under the Bureau of Standards, right? The standards that they were trying to say there was the basic recipe, the most basic, right? And then whatever you can add on to that, right? Bahala ka
So,
na. And
Chef,
it's still
what's the process like? You had to ask advice from so many people, from writers, from
yes, we referred to the Culinaria book, that one, and then of course Mickey Phoenix was there. Si Chef Mirna Sigismundo was there, and then we'd always ask around, but we just went down to the most basic adobo. That's really about it, and like I said a while ago, like what Mirna was fighting for really was the use of the local endemic vinegar. Yeah. The process that you're there, it was really an initiative of DTI, the Bureau of Standards. Then they called, actually the first group that they called was really HRAP and Letoc Blanche. Letoc Blanche was there also. They were there, and there were a lot of discussion saying, oh, the basic adobo should have
Hello?
bay leaf.
Hello?
Yes. Hi, Angela.
Hello?
No, Angelo, we can hear you already. Nawala na si Angelo.
Wala.
Wow,
Oo.
Chef Robbie, what I would have given to attend that cook-off, that adobo cook-off. I would give an arm to have joined that.
We were sayang nga eh. We were supposed to meet already face to face, and then we were supposed to and then we were gonna talk about the technique, whether it's going to be marinated and then braised and then fried after, or it's going to be marinated and then fried and then braised and then fried again. We were gonna talk about the techniques already, because we've already established the basic, which is protein of choice, then the local endemic vinegar, right? We have to promote our vinegar abroad, right? And then garlic, and then salt and pepper, right? And then in fact, I was saying the salt should be coming from the Philippines, right?
Yeah, I think Chef Rob, the operative word is you did not say standardize.
Yeah, we
I think
said
that was the bone of contention. Everybody thought that DTI would say standardize, and in fact, I talked to Secmon Lopez about it. Nobody said standardize, kasi parang when you talk about adobo and Chef Gaita, Chef Cloud. Remember, we were together just a few months ago. You can't standardize adobo. Parang people were saying, you mean yung adobo ng nanay ko? That's not adobo na pala. So I think that hit home, I think. And then the word is, when I was talking to Secmon, we never said standardize. It was more to differentiate Philippine adobo with, let's say, Mexican adobo. Kasi Mexico also has their own adobo. Yes, and may I add, Chef Cloud was always say it's not good to say adobo. Adobo is a cooking technique, di ba, Chef Cloud?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yes.
Cooking technique.
Yes, we also established that. Yeah.
Yes. Ako na yung host mo, Angelo.
Sorry.
No.
I'm sorry. And also we were very careful talaga about that, kasi during the discussion, a lot of from the Philippine Association of Meat Processors, right? Parang, okay, when can we call it an adobo? They were asking, kasi they were the ones who were going to can and send it abroad, diba? Okay, if people, they were saying, now, is it adobong mani adobo, right? Is it right to call it adobong mani when it has no vinegar, right? So that's why they were just trying to be sure, or at least when they export something to the world, diba? At least they know na it's really an adobo. Hindi yung, I'll tell you a story, no? Diba? My dad was the Philippine ambassador to Canada, and this was about 15 years ago. And I remember in one of those diplomatic embassy parties, my dad hosted a dinner, and then he hired a chef. He hired a caterer who served, of course, sinigang, adobo. And the adobo that she served was sweet and it had star anise, right? And I swear it's not adobo, it's asado. But then again, the diplomatic corps enjoyed it. They said, "Wow, this is really good. That's the national dish." And I said, "It's not. It's not adobo. It's asado, right?" So, parang for me personally, I mean that instance alone. I mean, this guy should know what a real adobo is. I mean, tama naman si Chef Mirna. You should also promote the local vinegar because even abroad din namamash na nahahalo-halo na siya. I mean, is it authentic if you use sherry vinegar or balsamic vinegar? Yes, it's still adobo, but can you call it authentic?
It's not ours.
It's not ours, but it's still adobo. And then they were saying, what if now China comes out with a dish that like kimchi. Kimchi is very popular in Korea, but then again, the Chinese, they have a version of it and they call it another name. That's why Korea was so fast on making the authentic kimchi, diba? Para at least they own
For
it.
chef,
They,
what if the protein is tofu? Because we need to be sensitive to. It doesn't have to be meat, right? What if the protein?
yes,
came from
it has to be
tofu?
vegetable.
Because vegetarians, etc., and the like, right? But I love what you said about the vinegar, but I leave it to Angelo because Angelo and I have a very shared history in terms of suka.
I know that too, Amor.
But chef, I think aside from the recipe, it should come with a message also. Because we've been saying that Filipino cuisine is diverse, it's halo-halo, diba? It's regional.
It's regional.
And so,
Yes.
that's why aside from the recipe, it should come with a message also. And so I'd like to ask the other chefs promoting Filipino cuisine abroad, what's your take on this one? Would like to start?
Can I answer? Angela, can
Go
you hear
ahead.
me?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I can hear
Can
you.
you hear me? The audio's good?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think for purposes of knowing what we're talking about, let me show you the book. Show you Culinaria, which
I
is
have that. I love it.
It's a 10-year-old project, and I have to say that it's kind of providential that Asia Society is the one that's actually spearheading this event today with Angelo, with ACE, because I think this was really instrumental. The book was instrumental in actually getting our cuisine through the door globally. Okay, and I think that the effort was really, well, even if it was inspired by the model of Thailand, actually, that was Doris Magsaysay Ho's real parang, it was her mission, no, to use the template of the Thai government, which is what the king did, and what he wanted to do was to not standardize, but to at least make a template of all the Thai dishes, and get a foreign eye, Miss Chef David Thompson, to come in and look at the cuisine from the outside so that they can actually present Thai cuisine globally with a message that would make it easy to understand. So what they did was they did the classic pad Thai, so that if you have pad Thai in New York, if you have pad Thai in Bangkok, if you have pad Thai in Manila, the pad Thai looks the same. So I think that this is also what the DDI was trying to do with the adobo. I think that the key word is baseline. It's really just that, not just the dish, but the style of cooking. So whether you do it with pusit, or you do it with kangkong, or you do it with lamb, which is what Angelo and I have done a lot abroad, it's still adobo. And you're right about trying to find Filipino vinegar to use to make it, because when you go abroad now, every Oriental store will have either pinakurat or datu puti, at least, no, so that when you try to do the adobo abroad, you can do it as close as you can to the Filipino model, because precisely you can find our vinegar already abroad. But it was really, the effort was just to get our cuisine out there. And then you can, like Angelo says, you have to add the message that because of regionality, there is adobong saputi, there's adobong dilaw in other parts, but basically it's braising a protein in vinegar with garlic, with pepper, and with bay leaf. So I think that it's there's no reason to like be really angry about using the word or at least appreciating what the DTI is trying to do, because I think that's exactly how you get the cuisine out there globally, which I think has been happening already in the last decade.
Chef Claude.
Me. What?
Chef Cloud.
What's your take on this issue? Sorry.
Well, in the first place, as Secretary Berna mentioned earlier, that Secretary Mon Lopez, did not mention the word standardizing. So where did it come from? How come all the headlines in several newspapers and online news, the heading is always the standardizing? So where did that come from? I mean, that was the root of all this thing. So was it a bad PR thing, or anyway, they were doing it? My take on it is DTI BPS even mandated to do that? Is it part of their mandate, their job, to so-called whatever, formulate, whatever you call it, standardize a recipe, and then if it's meant for international market, that would mean it's addressed to exporters, like Datu Puti, for example. They should come out with their own recipes. Well, the word standardizing itself is very, very. That's why we had a very negative reaction to that. The word itself, para tayong bigla tayong sinundot sa ano, sa whatever. So yun ang punto. I mean, they can do all this baseline, whatever they call it, these recipes. Nobody will follow it anyway.
It's like Angelo. Angel, can I say something? So it's like actually we were looking at the Escoffier's 5 mother sauces, right? I mean, nobody cooks anymore the basic velouté or the basic bechamel or the basic espagnol, right?
True.
There are a lot of derivatives. But then again, up to now, go to a culinary school, that everyone is taught the basic mother sauces, right? And then ayun lang yon. It's as simple as that. Parang, I mean, Escoffier did that centuries ago, right? And now it's still being taught in culinary schools. Ayun lang naman eh. I mean, para at least there's a baseline. Nobody's gonna cook the most basic adobo na just the 5 ingredients. Of course, you need to add your wherever you came from. Like me, my father is from Taal, so we have adobong dilaw, which has turmeric, diba? And then my mother is from Pangasinan. Her adobo has a lot of onions and it's a bit sweet, right? And then we have a Bicolana cook who puts coconut milk. So it's really to celebrate diversity and the different ways of cooking adobo. But all of them, they all have the basic vinegar, garlic, salt, and pepper, and whatever meat. Even if you put tofu nga, if you put kangkong, it's really like that. It's just to go down to the basis. At least when they teach how to teach in anywhere else in the world, if you're let's say a foreign national, right, and you wanna know the basic adobo, and then you see there na importante that you use also the Philippine vinegar. So ganun lang, we wanted to go down to the most baseline. But then again, kasi the problem is this was done by the DTI's Bureau of Standards. I mean, the group itself pa lang, it's the Bureau of Standards, diba? And then we were saying just baseline recipes lang. We can't call it standardized because magwawala talaga. In fact, that morning when it came out, I actually got a phone call from Mirna, and I said, okay, when is the tsunami coming? Diba? When is the tsunami coming? And true enough, diba? I phone calls from here, there, and I say, no, it's just baseline. But fine, I'm so happy it's all tapos na.
See, Chef Yana has been all over the world promoting Filipino cuisine. How will this affect your advocacy?
I think it's actually kind of funny because even here, like in America, right? Like a lot of people, because of the wave of like Filipino food and the Filipino food movement, everyone's always like, oh, that adobo is not the same as my mom or my lola or my tita, and it's like it's an uphill battle to really educate folks about like adobo is very specific, it's very personal, and it's very regional. So not one adobo is the same. So for me, I wanted to celebrate that diversity because I want folks to know that there's not one singular monolithic adobo out there. It's good to have the foundations, and I've always said that about Filipino cuisine, like understanding the flavor profiles. So once you understand the foundations of what the dishes are, then you can jazz it up however you want. But so I agree with like having that baseline, that foundation, but also being able to celebrate that that regionality, the specificity, and the diversity that we like to embrace as Filipinos, because not one Filipino looks alike, So it's the same with our food.
To Secretary Puyat, how will this move affect food tourism in your programs?
Actually, that was people were trying to ask me was if the Department of Tourism was involved. After all, it is about promotion, diba?
Yeah.
And then that is our role, diba? Promotion. And I've been talking to SecMon. Of course, the Department of Tourism and the Department of Foreign Affairs should be involved. Of course, initiatives to promote Philippine cuisine globally are always welcome. And of course, we want to be part of it because that is, of course, our mandate to promote Filipino cuisine. I understand where the chefs are coming from. Maybe it also helps because I know Chef Rob. I know where they're coming from. But I guess nga, as I said, yung word standardized, diba? Was that. But then, of course, you've already cleared that up. Nobody wants to standardize na, ito lang dapat yung adobo. My adobo is correct and your adobo is wrong. That was not what I think the group wanted. It was just mainly ano ba talaga yung main ingredients ng adobo. And yun na nga, I was talking of course to SecMon the whole time when this was all happening. It was more nga to say how different, let's say nga, as I said, Philippine adobo is with Mexican adobo. Ganon. Or how Philippine adobo is different from the humba. But it is not to say that one adobo, like your adobo is not correct and my adobo is not correct or right, whatever. But kami, for us, if it helps generate international awareness of our country's food, then it is always welcome. But we in the Department of Tourism, we will not say na ito yung tamang adobo. Hindi. We will always, but of course, I like what Chef Rob said. We always want to, of course, promote local cuisine, our local ingredients. Because after all, that was also my job in the Department of Agriculture. For 12 years, we wanted to push local ingredients. But I also understand, because I was also getting text messages from abroad. Gusto man nila gumamit ng local salt or local vinegar or local, wala sa place nila. So that's why they have to use whatever is available. But if they're lucky, if there's a Filipino store, they're lucky. But some are not as lucky that they have the ingredients, but they just want to cook adobo what they remembered it when they were back home. So, but kami, I mean, at least people are talking about Filipino cuisine, and that's always welcome. And yung latest nga with SecMon is all the departments will be included in the promotion.
I'd like to ask Amor, before I get to you, Yana, I'd like to ask Amor lang, like, you built brands from scratch. So, what do you think of this move? Is this a proper way to go about branding our cuisine abroad?
Hi, Angelo. You know I'm going to say more than that, right? I'm a square peg in this very well-rounded group, and this is a discussion. A few points, but before I start, Chef Claude, look at this book you gave me, December 24, 2009, that you signed. Unbelievable, so precious. But what I wanted to say primarily is this is an issue of guidance versus prescription, right? And you guys know I'm very active in technology space, promoting the Philippines as a technology hub. There is a difference between being prescriptive and giving guidance. And I'm not just defending the DTI because I love what Secmon's doing, or Chef Rob because we've shared a lot of meals together. But guys, there is no issue here. Tama si Chef Margarita. This is a non-issue. And sorry, Chef Rob, that you're in the midst of it. No good deed goes unpunished. What you're basically doing, totoo naman, diba? What you're basically doing is just giving guidelines so that everyone knows in the world what adobo is. If we don't document, and I'm so sorry, this is the problem of us Filipinos in general, of all, the amazing secret kitchens all over, is we do not document and write down the amazing things that we do. Why is this important? Angelo, that I've done the promotions work for Samar, Spark Samar, and I discovered some of the most amazing tamales. Sorry, Chef Todd, I know that we have amazing tamales in Pampanga also. And the quesillo, the cheese in Cavite. Hi, Ige, how are you? And the quesillo, for example, in Samar, connected pero different, right? Ang problema, walang nagdo-document, right? So all of a sudden now, if these kitchens die off, I'm so sorry to say, it's done. So let's not please punish these people, Tita Glenda, Chef Rob, for doing us a big favor. Tapos tama naman siguro, sorry Chef Rob, I love you, but I think the fault, sorry to use the word, no, is that the intent was not communicated, right? So this is where the communications, my risk issues cap comes in. Dapat po siguro ay sinabi what the intent is first, right? The intent is we want to create a baseline so you all can go crazy and innovate. Right? The ironic thing of what happened, Angelo, is that with all this culture canceling of millennials, I am proud to say hindi na po ako millennial, right? With all this culture canceling, we are actually canceling innovation. So now all of a sudden, if there are chefs there who want to document the secret recipes, the secret kitchens from where they grew up, right? Hindi na. Kasi na-tsunami sila, sabi nga ni Chef Rob, diba? So that's my perspective. And I think the last point I want to make is not related to branding, but related to the vinegar, right? If you talk about, diba, you only talk about things that you love. And I'm so grateful to Rob. I know I'm such a big fan of his food. He knows this. He talked about the vinegar 4 times, no? Siselos asawa mo niyan. 4 times. And I cannot emphasize this enough. Seriously, in the same way that Margarita taught me how to eat batuan, right? I kid you not. And she talks about it, or the diwal, like it's like sliced bread. No? What I'm saying is, Angelo, you and I, naku, naiiyak ako. You and I met the last tubero, the last paumbong sasa maker in Malolos, who's now dead. He died. There were 3, there are now 2. Sino na ngayon gagawa ng sasa, ng paumbong, na actual authentic vinegar? Because they did not document it, right? So yun lang po. Sorry, I'm so passionate about this. Because I'm such a fangirl to all of you. Thank you, Angelo.
That's why we love you.
Thank you.
Yes, Yana, you were supposed to say something.
I just want to bring this up, and it's totally left field, probably not even the agenda. But how about we reclaim that adobo and actually rename and rebrand adobo so there's no more confusion with the Mexican adobo or the Spanish adobo, because that name was actually given by a Spanish fryer, and it wasn't even our name to begin with. Just putting it out there.
Yes. No. Chef, I'm so sorry, Angelo. Since we have Secretary Berna here, you know what we need to do? We need to make a controversy. Hindi yung away-away tayo internal to the country. Let's take on the Mexicans. Whose adobo is better? I'm serious. No. Guys, listen.
Nako, alam mo, ang dami nating problema.
No. You know what we do? You know what? It's a fun argument. And now all of a sudden, people will say, wow, what is this Philippine adobo? Pero on the back end, mag-handshake tayo with Mexico para walang international incident.
You know, I think this is such a big controversy because we have a COVID. Let's not, we have problems with COVID. Parang ang sinasabi ng tao, ang dami-dami nating problema with COVID and why, I think that was what they're saying. Ang daming problema sa COVID, ang daming problema sa vaccination, pag-restart ng economy, bakit natin pinagtutuunan ng pansin ang adobo? I think that was it. Oo, I'm not saying that adobo is not good. I mean, of course, that's very important, but I guess we also have other problems at stake and became that became but given that kasi kami in the DOT, we don't naman like even when there's COVID, we continue to promote naman abroad. But let's not naman make it negative yung let's to be good vibes, diba? I mean, food is always good vibes, diba? I mean, that's why Chef Gaita, Chef Rob, Chef Cloud, when we see each other, it's always good vibes because food is unifying, diba? It shouldn't be, conflicting. I mean, and I think that's what we should do. Yes.
I agree. Chef Berna, if I may just help clarify.
Hindi ako chef. I wish I were a chef.
Secretary Berna, it's really how do we make light of it? I think the point is let's make light of it. Let's not be too serious about it. And I like the suggestion of Yana. How do we make this a point for conversation with an end view towards unifying everyone, right? With regards to food? What really saddens me is that. Secretary Berna, the thing you said about COVID, I'll tell you something. Do you know who really benefited during COVID in the food industry? E-commerce, and even places like Santis. No. I'll tell you something, guys. Santis rock, because home cooks, etc. So ang punto ko, grabe, bakit foreign food yung namayagpag, right? Bakit hindi local food, right? So sana ganun yung maasikaso natin. And I think discussion about food reminds us that there's more to life than just worrying about COVID. I think we're ready to move on. We have to be mindful.
During COVID, I think local food, really was promoted by all these home cooks. I promise, Santis is like 2 minutes away from my home. But I was buying local food left and right.
Very good.
Yes, hindi. Sorry, Amor, I have to go against. I don't think Santis ang number one during the pandemic. I think the local home cooks even Gaita. Hey, by the way, Gaita, I just tasted your Ilonggo chorizo burger. Oh wow, it was fantastic.
Wow! After this, I'm going to very good.
And then
you should have her lamb caldereta also. It's so good.
I should. Yes, and this is not local, but my daughter buys every week the roca salata of Robbie. Every week.
Rob,
every week.
But there's no roca salata in Greece.
I know, you invented it.
I just made that up. There's none.
I know. But then it's the local.
The roca salata in Greece is just arugula and lemon and oil. That's it. So.
But Rob, as Podium, every week we order from Grab food. Always. And of course, over the pandemic, it's the first time I went to Baledutong. Oh, fantastic food. We should all meet there and cook adobo, Chef Cloud.
Yes, it's fantastic. And Asian society, you should stream live from there.
But in fact,
wait, sponsored ba to ng DTI? Hold on.
DOD.
Oh, DOT pala. Mali.
But ever since this adobo thing came out, I mean, a lot of friends, a lot of people have been cooking adobo at home.
Yes.
See,
Right? I mean,
it's
hear
good.
it.
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
see, this is actually what we wanted for people to cook their own adobo and to show it, di ba? Of course, sige, you're saying galit sa akin, and they're just putting their adobo out there. That's good.
Yes,
but that's
good,
not our
good.
objective. Our objective really is for you to cook your own adobo. That's it.
And
By the
But
way,
I think the same thing
DTI,
happened to
Chef Robbie, I have a request since you're there, seated in the standardization group. You know what you need to start standardizing? How do we document, rather, are the living traditions, the living chefs?
Correct.
Like, for example, sorry, I keep on saying this all the time. We're talking about recipes. We're not documenting the living traditions in the same way it's being done, for example, for tinalak, etc., with lang dulay. We have here Cloud Dayag. We have here Margarita Forest. The Taal Adobo of Rob Gocco. I mean, yun ang kailangan nating document lalo na, right?
Actually, more artisan.
Sila. Pag patay na sila, I mean, let's do it now while there's still living treasures in the culinary field. Yan ang suggestion
Actually,
ko.
in Negros, it's the same. There are dishes there na the chefs, the people that make it, the home cooks that make it, are afraid to share it because they think they'll lose their business, right? But things like the old style okoy there, the guy who used to make it is gone. So we need to find the people that he taught to be able to document, no? And by the way, the Sec Bernard, the Culinaria book is a DOT project. It's not just
I know. It's
it was a DOT, a DOT initiative.
That's why,
And
yes.
it's not so much just about the recipes, but I think what the book morphed into, because it already has 2 editions, right? The first edition, we got a lot of comments from all over the world, right? The first comment, if you remember, Claude, the lady from California who told us that the recipe of the pandesal came out as hard as her head, right? or the recipe of the leche flan that just said 8 eggs. They did not say where the eggs were from. The eggs in the Philippines are this small. The eggs in Italy are this big. The eggs in California are humongous. So the next edition went into explaining medium-sized eggs or large eggs. And then it also added now butchery instructions, precisely because the way we cut meat to make adobo is very different from buying from the butcher in America. So all of those things, parang the book is actually parang it's still a work in progress. And there's a question here that was posted. Now, is there going to be another Culinaria book? I think that in the pipeline, Doris Ho and the Asia Society Group wants to do one that's really for global release. So that, again, it's not standardizing. It'll also explain why our food is regional, diba? It's like Italian food. It's the same thing, diba?
Actually,
it celebrates regionality.
It's funny you mentioned Culinaria too, because we're already in the process of producing it. It will come out next year, and it will involve a lot more chefs and more Mindanao and Visayan dishes.
Yay!
So, but wait.
Yes. And then
go ahead.
In fact, tama what Chef Gaita was saying. That was in the 80s, the Culinaria. That was a DOT project in the 80s. That time, and ASEC Verna was actually involved.
Already there?
Yeah, she was, I don't know if she was a director at that time but that was in the 80s. And now she's an ASEC. And then, of course, since that was conceptualized, the time Filipino food was not as known as it is now. But thank you, Gaita, for mentioning that was a DOT project.
Yes.
Thank you.
And also, Cloud knows this. You don't know how we argued in the beginning. Right, Claude?
Yes.
Ano ba yung adobo na ilalagay natin sa libro? Ano ba yung sinigang na ilalagay natin sa libro? But we all decided, wait a minute, let's put all our egos aside and let's just do one basic muna. Para lang matapos yung book. It took 2 years. It took 2 years to finish it. But look at naman the advancement that we've made in the last decade with Filipino food, only because we all decided, let's get together, let's not fight. Let's
Correct.
just
Yeah.
choose muna one, and then we can move forward and explain how diverse our food is later. And it really panned out. It's look at naman how far, even with the all of you in America, the Filipino chefs that are cooking out there, look at naman how far our cuisine has gone already, precisely because we all decided magsama tayo to push this forward, diba? And
Magsama
also,
tayo
I
to
might
argue
say,
it to become richer, right? So argument is not necessarily a bad thing.
no, and the other important thing is PPP, public-private partnership. If government didn't join us to do this, it would not be where it is today. All the
Thank you,
agencies
that's
have
true.
DA, DOT, DTI, the three that are most important actually for getting our cuisine out there. If you didn't, like Berna, Sec Berna, if you did not reach out to us from DA, I mean, where would Adlai be today? Where, you know what I mean? It has to be done with government, private
Yeah.
sector and government. We all have
Agree.
to get together, and
Agree.
that's how this is happening.
So let's not try to politicize something that could actually be a jumping board for collaboration. Because it's in this argument and in this collaboration that innovation can really birth. Sana out of this talk from Asian society, we can do something about the vinegar. I think that's something that I feel very strongly about. I'm going to give my time, my love, gratis, and my passion to just champion Filipino vinegar because we stand, and nandito si si Sec Berna, who really championed
Alam
a
mo,
lot of it.
I-
I'm so sorry.
Maybe
stand
I'm
French
always
cuisine.
kasi with the chef, so you think I'm a chef.
I know, totally. Guys, remember,
Amor, wait for
French
Culinaria
cuisine.
too. Wait for
No,
Culinaria too. It's
listen,
gonna be there.
my love. The reason why French cuisine is not because the French are the French. It's because the chefs there stand on the shoulders of great agriculture. Okay? You take a chef out of France where they have to deal with a totally different ecosystem for their agriculture, iba yung pagkain all of a sudden. So hindi natin talaga pwedeng pabayaan yung agriculture side, right? And you know that, Angelo, you saw, munti ka nang malaglag sa Malolos, Bulacan, right? In Balayo. So the point is, if we don't preserve the agriculture, everything else will have a domino effect, no? So great discussion, great argument. I love it.
No, and
Wait.
actually, Amor, you're very
I have
right
a
about the
question.
vinegar, ha? Di ba, Angelo, if you remember, Sec Berna, the Madrid Fusion movement, okay, their focus was really to bring our vinegar out there because that's what makes our food unique, di ba? That's why our kinilaw is not ceviche. It's really our vinegar, and that's why you're right about using that as like the one of the premier ingredients apart from our best mango to promote globally because it's the one thing that we have so much of, and we have the most kinds of vinegar in the world from
And then
all
Sana
different
Sana magkaroon
sources.
ng project.
And then-
Asian Society, Angelo, make this your project.
Pwede
And then-
sana
Culinaria
ako.
too. Culinaria too. Wait for Culinaria
Okay.
too.
And
I
then
volunteer my time for
I'm
the
gonna be there.
vinegar, Philippine vinegar.
And then
Yes,
if you
it's gonna be
remember, Mr. Speaker, can I speak? Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, may I have the
Go
floor?
ahead.
Mr.
Yes,
Chair,
please.
thank you, Mr. Chair. And if you remember the first Madrid Fusion, we had Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao.
Yeah.
And of course, Angelo, you were in charge of day one, Luzon. Chef Gaita was, I think you were for the Visayas, but the next year you were in all days. And Chef
Regions.
Cloud, you were all, and Chef Rob was also with Luzon. And that's
Yeah.
what we were doing. At that time, I was still with the Department of Agriculture. And that's what we wanted to give, to highlight the local ingredients. That's what we were doing in Madrid Fusion that's for 3 years. And you were all involved.
I'd like to ask Chef Rob, going back to the issue, what comes with a recipe? Or it's just a recipe that you're coming up with?
No, it's a baseline. It's just the 5 ingredients: the protein or vegetable or of your choice, right? And then the local endemic vinegar, garlic, salt and pepper, right?
But that's
That's
it.
basically it. And then
Okay.
yes, and then the derivative, whatever you add. And so we were okay. Can you make goat adobo? Can you make adobo out of frogs? Can you make out of parang we just wrote down, and then what are the what you can add, like laurel because of the Spaniards, and then the soy sauce because of the Chinese, and we just wrote it down. So lahat, even the turmeric and whatever you can add in the adobo, parang ano lang, they wanted lang a simple guide, diba? So and then you can cook na your own whatever you want. I mean, meron pa doon mga accoutrements that you add it, you serve it with bagoong.
How do you spell accoutrement?
Parang it could be,
so
parang
so
chef, it
it's
could be
really-
nice to have like bullet points, like what is adobo, what are the different kinds of adobo. It could have to have a nice.
That's
message
exactly what we wanted to say. We didn't want, I mean, from the start, we didn't want to say standard. Kasi
Correct.
nga, it's
Yeah. No, but
It's-
aside from the
it's-
recipe, come up with a message also to support it.
Bracing in
Kasi not a
vinegar.
lot of people know
Yeah.
that adobo is actually a technique.
and
Yeah.
and then we were gonna meet up, and then we were gonna cook it, right? And then what are the cooking techniques? If we were gonna marinate it first, and then braise, and then fry, and then or sear first before braising, and then we were getting there pa lang, and then it all stopped because of the tsunami.
Because the S hit
Don't
the fan.
stop! Don't stop! Don't stop!
Yeah.
No,
But I-
it's
So,
good that it
moving
created
forward-
controversy.
Moving
And
forward,
then
I'd like
we
to
were-
ask Secretary Berna if So go ahead, Chef Rob.
And wait, and then we were also parang we actually itemized 5 Filipino dishes, no, to tackle. Adobo was one. Sinigang
for
was
sure.
going to be the next. So I think lechon was going to be
Kinilaw.
another one. Yeah, kinilaw was
Kinilaw.
one, and then kare-kare and sisig, right? So they were parang they wrote down, okay, let's tackle adobo first since it's the most it is our national dish. So I don't know what's gonna happen next, because they're trying to downgrade muna. So
No,
they're saying
Put out
No,
all
no, no. Wrong.
Lilo
Don't be
muna
this-
sa-
Lilo, yeah.
No,
Lilo.
no, guys. That's not how you deal with issues. But go ahead, Angelo.
No.
Now, moving forward, I'd like to ask Secretary Berna and Amor, like, what's the best and most efficient way to promote Filipino cuisine abroad?
Like what we've been doing with, remember Chef Gaita? I remember with Chef Gaita, we went to Bhutan. We had this very huge program with that was with the UNWTO. And would you believe that was the first time, I think, Angela, you were also with us. That was the first time they actually tasted Filipino cuisine. And
Because
then
it's such a closed place.
it
no?
was a close place. It was Bhutan. And of course, di ba, Gaita, there were also challenges in looking for the ingredients.
Correct.
I mean, it's not as easy to get ingredients abroad. I mean, Chef Cloud also knows that. Because whenever I was with the DA, he would always ask my help where to get local ingredients. And I remember the head of the UNWTO, he's still the head, si Zurab. He was so blown away with the food. And then right there and then, Gaita became the ambassador for Asia for UNWTO for gastronomy. And
Thanks to you.
yeah,
Thank you.
it's more of that. But I think it should always not only be with the DOT. DFA really plays a large role.
That's true.
Because
DFA pa pala.
DFA is there everywhere, and their ambassadors really want to push Filipino food. I think it's all the DOT, the DFA, the DA should also be there because sa kanila yung local ingredients and it's not as easy to export like mangoes. Some countries don't accept our mangoes because it doesn't pass. May mga SPS issues yan. As much as we want to bring mangoes to, let's say, the United States, they also have their own standards.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Gaita also, even the salt, as much as we want to bring the salt, minsan bawal. I mean, there are really things, but that's why, but of course, we appreciate this. the culinaria. We appreciate the talk. And I feel so bad for Chef Rob because, parang because ikaw yung nakalagay na vice something eh.
Yeah.
It was, and you weren't the one who brought out that, it was good intentions, but, and I'm glad that it's all out there, that it was not to standardize, and I guess with food, it shouldn't be lang only the DTI, but the DOT, the DFA, the DA. We should all work together with the private sector. Tama yung sinabi ni Chef Gaita. It should always be
Together.
Yeah.
sector and then working together. And that's why, di ba, Chef Gaita, with all these chefs, that's why we were all so successful in promoting local cuisine, is because
We work together.
we work together, and that's the only way. I mean, Chef, actually, Comsti is a chef. Chef Comsti. Yeah. I think the only way to really promote Filipino cuisine is if not only local chefs, but also Yana, or Tom Conanan, or Charles Olalia, or Amy Besa. We should work with all of these chefs here and abroad, and all the different government agencies. We all naman want to work together to promote our local cuisine, yes. But with Chef Cloud, I'm so happy with Chef Cloud because
Why?
it's because of why. Well, it's because of Anthony Bourdain. Yun na nga, naging kilala ang sisig because of you. You introduced to him sisig. So, it's all really an effort. Yes.
I have a question.
The Filipino community should support this. We are all ambassadors for our own culture, our own cuisine. Perfect. Yes.
Angelo?
Yeah. Go
Hi,
ahead.
Angelo. Hi. Okay. I couldn't agree more. Love or hate the current government. Obviously, I love it. One thing I learned from it that I continue to practice is the whole of government and whole of society approach that it has taken. Many of you know that I'm the advisor to the government's COVID response for communications and risk. And there's something to be learned there based on what Secretary Berna said. The responsibility for promoting is on all of us, right? And don't be afraid of arguments, for one, because what it can do is actually give rise to innovation. No? Let's steal that idea from the technology sector. So, Chef Rob, we're with you. We will defend you. We will support you. But please do not be deterred by the tsunami, to quote you, no? Ang dami po pang kailangan gawin para sa bansa. 3 last things I want to point out. How do we promote, right, Filipino cuisine? Number 1, let's go hyper-local, right? No one likes glittering generalities. They want to go hyper-local. Allow me to share with you the story of a very humble empanada. For me, I'm sorry, the best empanada in the Philippines is the empanada kaliskis, which is from Malolos. Okay, so now everyone is having a version of empanada kaliskis. Now I know you have in everywhere else, but the lady who created the empanada kaliskis is from a street in Mtenco. I brought Angelo there. Refuses to teach anyone. It's exactly what Chef Margarita said. But I think we can get her to actually teach you guys. Chef Rob, Chef Cloud, Chef Margarita, if you'd like to go, I will arrange it. We need to promote and document it. Do not be afraid to document. If we don't document it, it's going to die. She is almost blind. She is close to 80 or 90, and she's ready to share. So hyper-local is the way to go. Global. The vinegar, whoever is taking on a vinegar project, Chef Rob, I'm with you. Chef Margarita, I will support you. And finally, do not forget the people. We need superstars. I know the people in this group is too humble to say it, so I'm going to call it out. You need to celebrate the living heritages of Filipino cuisine, and they're living. Let's not wait until they're DED until we go out and promote them. We need to, like we're doing that for the Tinalak. I did a campaign for Tinalak in 2013, right? With R.D. Nelly Deliera, so long ago. namatay silang dulay. Maghihintay pa tayo, sorry, na maging DED, yung mga living heritages natin for culinary. We have the greatest rock stars and many of them are in this StreamYard event. Thank you. And of course, Angelo, in closing, maraming salamat. I never get tired of saying you are the Doreen Fernandez of my generation. I think of our generation. Salamat po.
Wait, we're not yet done. I have a couple of questions from our listeners, from our audience. This comes from Will Mahusay, who owns Sydney Cebu Lechon in Australia. He wants to ask, at this point in time, your Filipino cuisine is still underrepresented in many countries. Would it be a practical suggestion to serve our cuisine traditionally or on a more modern way?
I think
Would like
Chef
to answer
Daita, yeah. Chef
I think
Claudia.
traditionally
Any other chefs?
muna, right? I think traditionally first, and then you can show the innovations after, especially in places where they still don't know much about our food, no? Angelo, you remember this when the DFA sent us to Scandinavia? I mean, we needed to show them the basic first, so that they understand the psyche behind the cuisine. I think that it's easier to go with the classics first, and then but do it with best practices, diba? Don't overcook the gulay, don't overcook the seafood. I think that that's also really emphasized in the culinary book. But I think in doing the traditional one first is probably the better way to get your foot in the door.
Chef Claude?
Well, when you say traditional, that mean like home style cooking? You serve
Yes.
it in a canon? Or it's the, I mean, I've heard so many comments like when Filipino restaurants are open abroad, especially in the US, they always say, oh, I mean, the customers, no? I mean, like their philams. It's not like what my grandmother or my mother. So their idea of what Filipino cuisine should be is frozen in a time frame of like 30 years ago, maybe when they left the Philippines. So it's that Barrio Fiesta. I mean, sorry to say about Barrio Fiesta, but that kind of traditional cooking and serving. My point is, every generation creates their own tradition. Why not present it in a modern way, contemporary and relevant? Look what happened to the in culinaria. Amor, can you show the page on Pinakbet? Since I was the food stylist there.
We remember. We
Yes.
remember, Claude, those
No,
days.
the thing is, can you show that photo?
Hanapin ko.
I would say it's a
Here.
non-traditional Ilocano dish. I mean, the way I presented it.
Pero look, ang ganda, oh.
The
Yes,
vegetables.
you taught it to me, Chef Cloud.
Yes.
Pakbet and pinakbet. You taught it to me. Yes,
Oh,
I
there.
remember.
So, the thing is, look at. I got a lot of flack from Ilocanos. It's not authentic.
Kasi buo yung
Ilocano
kamatis.
Yeah, and
Oh.
besides, another thing is, for one, it's not. It is sautéed with shrimp paste with bagoong alamang. The Ilocano, the authentic traditional Ilocano pinakbet is just like basically they place in a pot and the base of vegetables are placed on layers.
Naka-layer.
And then they just pour the bagoong isda. Okay, the bagoong isda, the what do you call it in English? The fish.
Parang garum.
Yeah. Garum,
Parang
huh?
balayan. Parang balayan.
Balayan, exactly. So the fish paste, anchovy, I call it anchovy paste, something like that. So the thing is, and they just shake the pot. Whereas this one is ginisa. Number two, it has calabasa, which Ilocanos don't never include it. And then I placed cherry tomatoes as a topping to make it really appetizing and colorful. So is that correct? Is that wrong? Is that what? So is it still, we still call it pinakbet, the sense that it's a mixture of all these vegetables, local vegetables, and besides the tomato, since I placed the fresh cherry
Buo.
tomato, buo, which in effect actually the tomato is part and parcel of the traditional pinakbet. Only it's like included in the
Melted.
yeah, it's melted in the sense that and the way the Ilocanos cook it, that's why it's called pinakbet. It's called the other word for the synonym for
Pakbet.
pinakbet, pinakabet,
Pakbet, yeah.
pinakulubot, meaning it's
Ah.
cooked to death. I would call it.
So yeah, it
Cooked to
yeah.
death.
Wilted, till it's wilted. That's why
Wilted,
you
yeah.
see
Oh,
brown
wow.
mash. It's almost like a ratatouille na you don't recognize the vegetables anymore. That's the traditional, authentic pinakbet.
Mhm.
Can you present that to the world? I mean, in contemporary and relevant way. So that's what I'm
Tama
saying.
naman.
I mean, it's okay to do it, to do a modern version. To present it. Anyway, it's your restaurant. If you're what I'm trying to say too is just keep, true to the taste. Yung panlasa.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It may look
Mhm.
different.
But the taste is there.
Angelo,
Tama ka.
Angelo,
The ingredients are there.
Agree.
Yeah.
Angelo.
Yes.
Angelo, am I the only one that got turned on with all the talk of pakbet and pinakbet? My God, amazing, Chef Cloud.
Yeah.
Amazing. I'm sure many of you guys got turned on with all the dirty talk on pakbet and pinakbet.
And then you top it pa with bagnet.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, tama.
But is it true,
There
Claude?
you
Diba? Kasi
have
like,
to say that. Sarap, sarap, sarap.
yeah, but Claude, like I know I'm very familiar with the one in Ilocos Sur, right? I know for a fact that they don't put garlic. It's just ginger, right? And tomato.
Bagong.
May bagoong, of course, but no garlic for no garlic for them.
For one, I know, I learned this from Chef Nick what's his name, Rodriguez from Candon, the one with the restaurant in Candon. It's just outside the vegan. Anyway, sabi niya, they put, instead of the kalabasa as the
Candon, yeah.
non-Ilocano pakbet, they put kamote.
Mhm.
Ah.
Yes, I know that. Yes.
Yeah, that is for the sweet element.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's a salty,
Sweet.
sour from the tomato, and the sweetness and then the bitterness, which is the
But you see,
Ilocano.
that's really the profile of our food, right? And that's the message that we need to
Exactly.
convey.
The sweet, sour, salty, and a little bit of bitterness. But in every region, you can say the degree of whatever the flavor.
The combinations, yeah.
Yes, the combination. In Ilocos, they like it the salty
It's a
and bitter.
symphony. It's a symphony.
Exactly.
In
it's a
Bacolod,
symphony.
it's always sweet. Okay, more sweet than the other parts.
And it has to
Because
be
it's sugar
wilted.
candy.
Just like
The
in
same with
Pampanga.
Iloilo.
Yeah, it comes with the terroir, di ba?
It's
Yeah.
an homage to the sugar culture, of course. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The same way with Pampanga, because it's also considered a sugar land.
Even
So
our
the thing
even our kilaw has sugar there in Bacolod.
Really? Hmm.
Yes. It's parang sweet sour, the vinegar.
Oh, I have another question
about-
here.
Question, okay. Next.
I have a question from Patrick. What dishes would you consider as authentic Filipino dishes? Because adobo, kare-kare, and sisig, to name a few, were inspired or introduced to us by our colonizers.
No?
Kinilaw.
No.
No.
Laing.
Oh, how do you answer that?
Laing.
Ah,
Isn't laing?
Laing,
Yes.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Laing.
So, wait. Example.
That's true. Laing and
Okay,
kinilaw for me.
For
ah.
me, as far as I'm concerned, the word authentic by itself is very, very questionable. Meaning,
Another tsunami coming.
Exactly. Exactly.
Wag na, oo.
Yeah. That's another point of
Another discussion, another topic.
another topic.
Next episode, next webinar. That's
No,
very,
but Angelo,
that's actually a
Angelo.
good thing to start off with.
Angela, the thing about words like that divide, right? So, for example, authentic. I mean, what is authentic? We don't follow the principles of terroir of the French. Maybe we should, right? Maybe we should. But when we start culture canceling people who try to create some semblance of documentation, like Tita Glenda or Chef Rob, right? How do we intend to innovate when all of a sudden, diba, no good deed goes unpunished? I'm so sorry. I really feel bad. So Chef Rob, you have a defender in all of us kasi continue to do it. Please, let's not use words that divide. And that's my address to the millennials out there. My God, I'm so not a millennial. Stop this culture canceling stuff that we're doing. That just because we don't agree, all of a sudden we condemn, right? I mean, we need to encourage more innovation by being more tolerant with arguments and discussion.
I just want to set the record straight because I feel like they said adobo, kare-kare, and sisig was inspired or introduced to us by our colonizers. Like, adobo has been in our cuisine. It's indigenous, it's ancestral. And kare-kare was introduced to us via our trade with India. And sisig was homegrown. It was made by this woman who profited from, taking the pigs' heads from the U.S. Army base in Angeles. Like, those are ours. They were not introduced by our colonizers, So it's like just knowing the history of each dish and knowing like how that dish was formed maybe can help us actually really get to the nitty-gritty of the foundations of the flavor profiles of Filipino cuisine.
Do you guys think that there's a bigger
and
problem
Angelo,
that there's
sorry, Angelo, since we're showing
maybe we should make the chair like say, Amor, maybe we should make Angelo do the who can talk, yes, para we don't make sapaw each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I just want to ask if there's a bigger problem here about food education because we're all coming from different.
Yes.
That's
why we need.
This?
That's why we need to document it, right? And to go down to the most basic, diba? So we can already go on our way. Like, okay, I'll give you an example. Marian Grasby, the chef, made Filipino adobo, correct? Of course, what she did was, she used apple cider vinegar, but she used it. But then, a lot of comments came out. They say that's not the real adobo, that's not the man. But then again, maybe her consultant was from Bicol, so they added
coconut milk.
Yeah. So that's why we're doing this exercise, this episode, so that at least we can go back to what the root is all about, and then you can go na on your own. And but at least alam natin kung ano ang pinaka basic, right? Kare-kare is going to be very difficult. Sinigang, diba? Sinigang is going to be hard also. But that we just have to get back to our roots and so we can move forward. Parang yung the mother sauces.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have another question from Luisa
Chef
this
Yana?
time.
Yes.
No,
Wait.
Chef Yana, I just wanted to add to what you said earlier about how we already have pre-existing dishes prior to the arrival. Sorry, that was such a sensitive topic for me. That's why I pulled out this book about Pigafetta's Philippine Picnic. We had so many dishes that predated our supposed goal.
Yeah.
So it's really correct that we got it from them. Thank you. Thank you for pointing it out. Salamat.
Walang anuman.
Okay. Another question from Luisa this time. How hard is it to translate regionality into global message?
I don't think it's that hard, really. Just like how we're able to say, oh, this is Szechuan cuisine, this is Cantonese, this is, Tuscan, versus
the Italian model. Yeah.
So it's like once we start embracing that, you know, Philippines is not a monolith. Like we're not just adobo pancit lumpia. We're more than that.
You
know?
bet. Yeah.
You know,
That's how
like
we say
now
that.
we can actually start embracing like, oh, Bicolano cuisine. We can start, you know, saying like this is the cuisine from Tawi-Tawi and Jolo and, you know, from Batanes. Like I personally was like so blown away with like how diverse and how different each island. Like I grew up in Iloilo and I was like, wow, this is like so many other things that I didn't know about, and I grew up there, you know. So, and for us to say like, what now we now know more about our country, we now know more about our cuisine, then we can translate it into a global message.
You're Ilongga pala.
Oo, Ilongga gid.
Day.
Day.
Secretary Berna, you're going to say something.
Yeah, I'd like to quote Doreen Fernandez since she's
Yes.
always being mentioned. When Filipinos borrow and then they cook it, there's a whole different, profound process that happens. That when people cook something that they have embraced from somewhere, it becomes very different. It becomes ours.
Their own.
So true.
Yes.
We Philippinize.
Yes.
She
For
used
example,
the word indigenize. Ah, that's what she
Yes.
used.
Galing, di ba? Like for
Filipinized,
example, like the ensaymada. Remember all the chefs here, the ensaymada in Spain is so different from the ensaymada here in the Philippines. Remember Chef Paco Torreblanca? He was so amazed that we put ube, then we had so much butter while their ensaymada in Spain is just really more bland,
Flat.
di ba? Flat.
Yeah.
Or even the lechon, di ba? Like gaita, you put batuan. Si Chef Cloud, you put different things. We make it our own. So it doesn't mean that it's not our own. We make it our own based on the local ingredients that we have.
Yes.
Yes.
Parang, when we talk,
I almost feel like Doreen is here, Angelo.
Yes.
Don't you think? It's like she's part of the discussion.
Mm.
She lives. She lives.
Yeah.
when we talk about food talaga, no, we can go on and on. Parang 90 minutes is not enough, but I think we have to wrap up. I'd like to get a message from each one of you lang with regard to uniting and promoting Filipino cuisine. Let's not talk about the issue of standardizing recipes anymore. I think we've resolved that. But what can you guys say about us uniting together to promote Filipino cuisine abroad, and also an inspiring message to the chefs and restaurateurs who are suffering right now because of the pandemic? Maybe we can start with Secretary Berna.
First of all, thank you again, Chef Comsti, for inviting all of us here. You're probably the only one that can invite all of us in one forum. This is a very healthy discussion, and it's a good reunion of all these wonderful chefs. It just goes to show that the government really needs the private sector to promote Filipino cuisine. We cannot do this alone. And it cannot only be the DTI or the DOT or the DFA or the DA. We all have to work together. Filipinos, it's the bayanihan, di ba? We all have to work together. You know, you all know this when we're all abroad, di ba? Walang chef, Asia's best female chef. Walang, wow, Chef Cloud Tayag. Walang ganon, di ba? Remember Chef Cloud when we were in Madrid Fusion? In Madrid. And then you became the sous chef of Myrna, Chef Myrna.
Hindi yung sous chef, walang title doon. Ano?
Wala.
Ako
Lahat
utusan. When we're abroad, di ba Chef Rob, when we're abroad, there's no titles. We're just all Filipino.
Yes,
yeah.
We're
all Filipino. Family. And I like somebody made a comment, you know, we should just all work together to promote our cuisine. This isn't decisive. Ganyan, maganda yung sinabi ni Bambi Manlulo, kapit kamay is the way to do it. Together, community, governments, private sector, every Filipino. Well said, Bambi.
Bambi!
Thank you.
Chef Rob?
Well, thank you, Angelo, for coming out with this. At least, ah, grabe, me, grabe. I mean, for the first 4 or 5 days of that article when it came out, grabe, people were like messaging me, calling me, and then even my relatives, ba't mo ba pinapakialaman ng adobo? Sabi ko, huh? I mean, wrong. As I saying, but then again, this should unite us, and it should not divide us. I mean,
Yeah.
like what the Thai government, about they came out with those 11 Thai recipes, right? We're here to really um, lift or make our cuisine more known to the global market and make adobo a global food, right? And my ano lang in here is just to go back to basic. I mean, I really believe in what the French did to their cuisine, right? And we can do that. We can start, and like what Amor said a while ago, we should start writing it down, documenting it. We don't document stuff. I mean, the other day lang I saw Ige posted a recipe of Maria Orosa's
Yeah.
adobo back in 1942. And wow, I am going to cook it. I'm going to cook that adobo. And we need to document. We need to keep on documenting. But I'll also talk to DTI and tell them to include everyone in this group, to include them in the board or the
Yay!
yeah. And then let's say if they're tackling lechon, they should invite the people who make lechon, and para at least inclusive, diba? Hindi exclusive. So I mean, we're here to put everyone together and unite us, not divide us. So thank you, Angelo, thank you, everyone. It's nice seeing everyone, and please stay safe and get vaccinated.
Get vaccinated, Amor.
I'm vaccinated.
Amor, you have anything to say?
Sorry, Angelo. Yes. Just in closing, I wanted to acknowledge another living heritage who's listening out there, Mr. Ige Ramos. We always talk about local is the new premium. I continue to maintain that. And I remember that it was only after I started representing foreign governments, right? We did a campaign for the European Union, for Singapore, blah, 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 for tourism. And then when I got back, I realized that there was a living heritage who lived in my street where I was born, in M. Tenco Street in Malolos. And this was a lady who created empanadang kaliskis. And you saw that, Angelo. So let's continue to champion it, talk about it, argue about it. Do not be afraid of argument, because as we say in the tech space, it is what's going to breed innovation. And that's what will ensure that Filipino food is going to continue for a long, long time. Maraming salamat sa lahat sa inyo. I mean, the work of Secretary Berna from the time she was in DA, fantastic. Gusto ko lang pong magpasalamat. I mean, Margarita, you taught me souring agents and opened my life to grabe, right? So she started with Batuan when I was starting in the industry. Very grateful. Chef Cloud, grabe, naiyak ako nung nakita ko yung culinary. I have 2 versions, pinirmahan mo pa. Chef Yana, I look forward to supporting you one of these days. And last but not the least, Angelo, I'm not gonna repeat it again. You know how I feel about you. So mabuhay ka, please continue to write. Lalo na po, at kung may proyekto regarding sa vinegar, tutulong po ako. Maraming salamat po. Magandang umaga.
Thank you. Chef Cloud?
Yeah, what am I gonna say? I think for me, the culinary cookbook by itself says it all. I mean, I'll tell you about this neighbor of mine. He bought the book when it came out, 2008 ba yun? Tapos, sabi niya, I mean, he was texting me as he went along with the, pinaluto niya 1 dish at a time sa kanyang kasambahay, meaning the home cook. So, 1 dish at a time. Sabi niya, it's so well explained. Just follow to the letter yung instructions. Tapos nagawa niya yung and it turned out all the dishes turn out good. Sabi niya ganon. Very, very good, sabi niya. So, at the end of another, I think there are seven dishes there in the, or more in the cookbook. So the thing is, I mean, it's already there. Why the need for this? I mean, if you send out, if there's a massive campaign, just promoting, I mean, again, parang re-promoting the book in itself. I mean, there's no other added expense there, right? In formulating a baseline of this adobo recipes. By the way, in the cookbook, in the culinary cookbook, there are 8 kinds of adobos there, but the baseline is already there. I mean, it's spelled out. The vinegar, the garlic, the pepper, the bay leaf could be optional, and it also explains the other. I mean, if it's a wet or dry adobo, it's up to you. I mean, so the thing is, just do that. I mean, just follow the culinary cookbook. It's already there.
Thank you. Chef Yana?
Oh, yeah. I just want to say diversity is our power, and that collaboration is the key to innovation as well as conversation. And I love, like, even though I am far away, like, shout out sa kay, Secretary Berna, utilize me, I'm here, And also Margarita, Claude, Bobby, and Robbie and Angelo, like, I want to come visit when it's safe to come out there, and I hope we all get vaccinated and document. Sabi nga ni Amor. So, yun lang. Salamat at magandang umaga or magandang gabi.
Magandang gabi sa'yo. Thank you. Finally, Margarita Flores.
Oh gosh, thank you. Maraming salamat, Angelo, for putting this together, and of course, Joy of Asia Society and everyone here, Robbie, Yana, Chef Claude, Amor, and of course to our biggest champion, Secretary Berna. You will never hear me stop saying this, because without you, we would not reach where we are today. The movement for pushing Filipino cuisine. Seriously, you've been behind us all the way. Baby steps in the beginning. And of course, to those who started before us, our matriarch, Tita Glenda, Tita Nora Daza, all of the people that really were there in the back. And of course, the spirit of Doreen, who we know is hovering over us this morning. Really, to all of you, it took long for us to get our cuisine out there, but it's there now. So let's celebrate that. And for me, the most important achievement is that the young Filipino chef now is proudly doing Filipino, and all of us love our own. Our cultural identity, our national identity. We're a young country. It took us a long time because of our background, all the colonization and all of that. It took us so long to finally love our own, and we're here. So let's just move forward and get together. Let's not like bring each other down. I think that this is exactly the Bayanihan spirit. It's just forward now from here, and let's continue, Angelo, with whatever you're doing, and let's just continue to move forward and just keep moving our cuisine out there. We're already there, so let's do more stuff. Culinaria too. I'm excited, Angelo, that you're doing it, because truly this was the biggest first effort to really put our cuisine in a book, more a guide. It's a living project, and that's why it reminds me of the Artusi book in Italy. Okay, it's like a 200-year book, and it was 14 editions, and it grew and it became the identity of Italian cuisine. So this is a living project, and let's continue to do it. And again, thank you to government, really truly all the agencies. Of course, Sec Berna, you were always there from the start. Let's work together. We can't do this alone. Private sector can't do it alone. We need to do this with government, so that we push our country up there. Can you imagine? We have a gold medal. So let's keep
Yeah.
a gold Olympic medal. So it's just further up. We're just gonna keep going up with our food. Thank you. Maraming salamat.
Thank
Salamat.
you. We're going to add something, Secretary Berna. Audio.
I think we should mention the original Nora Daza.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, Nora Daza. Everybody, every housewife, home cook,
Has the book.
etc., has the book of Nora Daza, and the first to promote Filipino cuisine in Paris. Yes, so I think she would be the one that started it all. I just wanted to say that.
Agree.
Yes.
I'm cooking her pochero on Sunday.
Yes.
I'm cooking her pochero on Sunday. So.
Oh, ayun yun naman.
Yes.
Padala naman.
Nora Daza.
In behalf of Joy Alampay and the whole Asia Society Philippines, I'd like to thank you guys for your time and your opinion, for sharing your knowledge. I really, really appreciate it. Like what I always say, the more I eat, the less I know. So kain lang tayo ng kain and be open-minded. Let's be open-minded. Let's not fight. Kain na lang natin yan. Di ba? And like this platform, let's just talk. There's nothing wrong in talking about it.
Yeah.
Let's not fight Chef Rob anymore, okay?
Yeah. At least I got everyone, the whole country, to cook adobo.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, diba? That's,
Yes.
you know, and,
Positive news, that is positive.
yeah, at least I got the whole country to
Mabuhay ka, Chef Rob.
Thank
Peace,
you
peace,
very
peace.
much for joining us today. Keep safe, keep dry. Have yourselves vaccinated so that we can all move on and eat.
Okay.
Yes.
Salamat.
Thank you. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Kain na.
Stay
And
safe,
exacto,
guys.
it's
Kain na.
lunch.
You too.
Next time na.
Kain na tayo na.
Kain na. And it's
Salamat.
lunchtime already here, Yana. Yana, what time is it there?
Yeah, it's
Almost
almost
midnight.
midnight.
Thank you,
Midnight
Yana.
snack.
Thank you.
Midnight
Midnight
snack.
snack na lang.